Welcome to Think Property Club's Think Tank, where we connect, share, and learn the tips and hacks from our specialists. They become part of our A team, supporting us to create the best developments in the property game. Hi, everybody. Welcome today to Think Property Club's podcast. We call this Think Tank. Welcome to all our students who have our system, and a lot of newcomers to the industry. We ensure that they're teamed with our experienced specialists, right? When you're in the property game, these specialists become a valuable component of our system and they help you along the way. Now, at the end of the podcast, we're going to zoom in with our students so they can ask any questions to our speakers. If you're new to this, visit www.thinkpropertyclub.com.au for more information about our Think Property Club property training. Now, today we have amazing special guests who are, our key specialists when we're working in the design industry. I want to welcome our guest speakers from JCE Engineering and Brendan Nielsen. He's the head of this team. He's got his key team experts who are here to share with us their various roles within the property development journey, what they do. And I'm also going to ask them to share with us what are the key questions they get asked, what are their roles, and perhaps there's some cool story about a property deal or development they've done with a client and how they've come up with a solution as well. Because at the end of the day, we're all here to solve any, challenge. I never call them a problem. I call them challenges. We eat challenges for breakfast every day. It's part of life. And when you're in property industry, you get really good at solving any challenge. And even I've taught my kids, how to become good solution focused little beans. And we come up with A, B, C, D, E solutions for everything in life. In property, really important. So welcome, Brendan. I'll let you take over. You can share your slides and introduce yourself. So everybody get your pen and paper ready. We've got some awesome tips to share with you today. And these guys have lots of experience in what they do. And I'm excited for them to share with us today.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, everyone, for having us along. Brendan Nielsen's my name. I'm head of JC Engineers. We have been asked to come along to talk about how you can add some strategic value to your development journey. Now, I've asked a few key members of my team to come along. So I've got Blake Colston here, who's our senior town planner. I've got Yasmin Trigo, who's our senior civil engineer, RPQ, and also our developments manager. I've got Brett Harris here, who's our senior site inspector and has a building background. And I've got Uruj Fatima here, who should be online, is an RPQ structural engineer. So I've asked them to all come along because I wanted to showcase the diversity that we've got at JC Engineers and where we can really help you through all the different phases of your project life cycle. Some 4 key areas that I'll get each of the guys and Uruj to talk about quickly with you. So number 1, just really understanding that development assessment process and how to really utilize it to your benefit. Number 2, a bit of value engineering, how you can really get an end result that's going to save you time and money in the end. How to go through a data-driven decision making and make sure that your decisions that you made are backed up from evidence. And then number 4, stakeholder engagement, because we all know the importance of stakeholders in the development process. So who is JCE? So it was founded from myself in 2016, so about 8 years strong now. It was founded on the back of my experience in the civil construction industry. I come from the contracting world for about 15 years or so. and continuously saw the issues that were faced traversing between design and the construction phases, then back to the end client. We identified basically there was a gap there to be able to apply the contractor knowledge and mentality towards driving to a result and applying it early on in the stages of the development process through the design and planning stages. So that's who we are. We've got a range of different services, including town planners, structural engineers, civil engineers, traffic, hydraulics. We've got senior site inspectors and project managers to help in all different aspects of the project. So first up, talking about the development assessment process, we've got Blake Colston. Hand over to you, Blake.
Thank you. So what I want to talk about today briefly is probably one of the major issues that I see and come across to the day-to-day basis, which is people underutilizing what the development assessment process is. So for most in any project, whether you're doing building units or subdividing properties, one of the most significant steps in that process is to get your initial permit from your local council. Um, what I see time and time again is that developers and project managers often see this as a hurdle to quickly jump over, rather than seeing it as an opportunity to determine what the final end product, or roughly what the final end product will look like when everything is done and dusted. So people often believe that if you receive an approval from your local council, that it's an indication of a good application. This is not often the case. So, for example, in Queensland, we have a component which says that as long as you can prove to them that your development, your project is capable of achieving compliance, they will give you an approval. And what that not often means is that they will just condition your project as much as they can to ensure that you will reach your compliance end result. So it's not exactly a good indication of whether or not your project is well made or not, um, as you're only really proving to council that you're capable of achieving compliance. So what this means is that often when you get when you start the project, applicants usually try and put through the most bare basic application into council to try and get their permit, as soon as possible. However, it doesn't really answer any of the questions. All you end up with is a whole bunch of conditions that just raise more questions. And the local council still doesn't know exactly what you're doing. They just condition it out. So when you put in the application with just the bare minimum information for the proposal, this is often with no engineering design. Um, in most cases, people will just condition it to a further application down the line, whether it's a construction application or just checks with council. They're happy to just condition it off. So we here at JCE see that as a wasted opportunity, as you may receive a development approval, you know, pretty basic, pretty cheap, but it doesn't make the process any faster, nor does it answer any of the important questions that you may have about the project, such as what is the extent of work required to achieve your project? What are the expected costs of these works? What will the end product look like? Essentially, you've paid your consultant fees and gone through the application process with council, waited 4 or 5 months to pretty much not know anything more about the project when you first began the process. And it makes it difficult moving forward because once you get your permit and you don't have any concept designs, you then bring it to your civil engineer where we have to kind of you know, pick up the pieces and try and get you to where your project needs to be. So rather than combining your civil engineering design with your proposal plan of what you want your project to look like, um, you know, we can make it a most cost-effective solution when we combine the two. If you don't combine the two in the early stages of the application, we are now trying to match the civil engineering to the approved plans with any available method to ensure compliance, even if this results in a more expensive solution. Um, if the project becomes unfeasible because we're trying to match civil engineering to what has been approved, the project may have to go back to council to have a change done, which just adds more costs and more time wasted, really. So one of the things that we have recently is people, for example, for a subdivision, people come to us with a 1 into 2 subdivision, all proved. They come to Yasmin and I, and they say, "Can you please quote this up? How much is this going to cost? What's the process? How do we go from here?" And we have a quick look, and we see that the application's been approved, but it's got only a bare basic subdivision design plan with no civil engineering included. So Yasmin and I work together to go, we need to figure out how to solve this now. And rather than kind of helping you figure out what that design plan should be, we're now stuck with your design plan and we have to try and make it work. And most often than not, it comes out more expensive because those key components haven't been addressed early on. It also means that when people come to us and say, how much is it going to cost? We can't really answer anything because the design plan hasn't been prepared yet. So it's important to realize that the DA process is not just a quick hurdle to jump over. It's important to utilize it for all that it's worth and what it was intended to do, which is to determine what is the realistic end product going to be. And so you can start kind of preparing your feasibility from there onwards, and you actually understand what the end product will be, how much it's going to cost, and what the estimated time frames for construction. So I'll hand over to Yasmin for a little bit more, and he can talk a little bit more about the civil engineering component with developments.
Thanks, Blake. So yeah, I
Thanks.
will just continue with the engineering part, more explaining how we would like to help the client from an early stage to make clear decision. So what that means that if you plan and manage the project from beginning, then you try to also to avoid any possible risks. That risk can be also cost or extension of time frame or maybe possibly refusal of approval. So what we need to do, we need to collect all this information that we can at the beginning and talk with the client, show them what is possible to do. And when client is happy how to proceed, then we are also trying to make the institution happy, like council. How we can do that? We usually have a little bit more higher design in the DA stage. So we try to cover everything at the beginning. So there is no hidden stuff behind that can come later in the construction stage. So when we are doing a little bit more higher design, what that means? That means that we are covering all the council requirements and making at the same time client happy with the product. What that means is that we can do a cost estimate of the construction cost very early, so the client can decide how to proceed. If maybe it's too expensive for him and he will just stop, but he will stop early. That means he will not spend a lot of money coming to the end or in the detailed drawings that cost them a lot and then just stop the project too late. So we are trying to help him very early. So we are at JCE like a one-stop shop. We have all engineers in our company and specialists. What that means that we are talking with each other very quickly and changing this information, exchanging information, providing information, and making any changes to the plans very, very quickly. What that means that client doesn't need to engage like multiple consulting companies and coordinate with them, which is time consuming and also costs. It takes also a lot of time to do that. So we can do that very quickly in our company. So helping client to decide how to move forward. What else I can say? That we have a lot of experience from site. Let's say I have more than 10 years like site management, and I believe also Brett even more. So this experience we're trying to put in the design and actually showing the client how he can reduce the costs and at the same time get the approvals. So this can be done very early, so client is prepared for everything at the beginning. So this is how we are helping from the engineering. Is that Rouge in the meeting yet? Or if not, I will
mate,
give to
No,
Yep.
I do see Arouge has come in, so I'll just jump back to the value engineering, and Arouge and Brett can jump into there.
Thank
Take it
you.
away, Arouge.
Yep, no worries. All good. Thank you, everyone. And I hope everyone is doing well. And apologies that I have joined late. It is some issue with my browser. Sorry about that. Anyways, I'm serving my duties here in JCE as a structural engineer. And I believe that value engineering should be incorporated in the early stages of design and planning phase. It is really a very primary factor that we should consider, for the smooth delivery of the quality product, and to have a sustainable and cost effective solution to maintain our product in the future. So because I did plenty of projects and related to the timber, steel, sometimes hybrid, concrete, and everything. So we consider many things at the beginning of the project. For example, we use value engineering techniques that assist us uh, in optimizing the balance between cost, quality, and performance. We also regularly review our designs that can lead to cost reductions, improve functionality, and it increase the project value as well. So as a team, we follow the value engineering principle. For example, the function cost worth analysis. It is basically the understanding the purpose of each element of the project, and then we evaluate whether its cost aligns with its importance and utility. Similarly, for example, we focus on sustainability by considering the long-term financial impact in addition to the initial cost. Uh, Also, like JCE adopts a structured approach to address the budget constraints, environmental considerations, and client expectations. So we provide the cost-effective design choices that are both like aesthetically pleasing and financially sensible. For example, these days the clients are asking for a prefabricated modular houses, but these prefabricated modular houses, like, it's not suitable for every location, but it is a quite sustainable solution. It has less maintenance like in future, and it has a very quick construction timelines, and we can achieve a better quality control if we have a prefabricated house. But like, it depends on the location, and it also depends council to council, because some council don't approve the prefabricated house. It also depends what the wind region is here, what soil classification. So we do the assessment and related to the soil investigation report, and we assess like how what type of foundation and what type of footing we can use there. And also we do the risk assessment at the initial stage. Similarly, like for the renovations, alterations, additions, and extensions within the existing structure, we use value engineering by performing a site inspection at the beginning of the job before starting the design work. It assess it give us the plenty of information on the current structure, and in such a way we see if the current members or the current elements of the building is able to have a good structural integrity to so that we can reuse it. So it will helping to cut the material cost while preserving the performance. And JC also applies value engineering principles step by step, like, which includes a clear understanding of the project's goals and budget. We gather detailed data on the project requirement, constraints, and potential risk. And we also perform the function analysis of each project element by collaborate with the team members, stakeholders to achieve a desired functions through alternative methods and evaluating solutions. So overall, like, it is JC engineers practice, and as a structural engineer, it is our practice like to consider value engineering in the early planning and designing phase to meet client expectations and provide the most sustainable solution to deliver project on time at a feasible cost. So we regularly review the design work to ensure the delivery of the high quality product while maintaining the industry standards and product performance. And thank you so much. The Brett,
Thanks,
who is a
Aruj.
senior site inspector, yeah, he will discuss more about value engineering during construction phase.
Yeah, thanks, Rouge. G'day, everyone. I'll just start off by saying, what actually is value engineering in construction? Well, everyone has a different definition of value, and we all got varying budgets. So value engineering looks different for every project. Achieving the best possible value in your project might include improving the quality and the function of the design. It might be a cost reduction, optimizing financial and time investments, and also solving your problems that arise on site in a timely manner. Many project owners misinterpret value engineering to mean extreme cost cutting. It's really what that really is more about increasing the value in your project. So to put value engineering into practice, you consider using alternate materials, or options, construction methods, and possibly incorporate some prefabricated elements into your design, where that is more practical or cost efficient than on-site construction with raw materials. The value engineering during the construction really starts the design phase. By having your builder or your contractor review the architectural designs and engineering solutions to help identify potential constructability issues that may cost you time and therefore money on site. Also to explore the material choice options, construction methods without compromising on the function or the intended design. So another way to implement some value engineering is utilising stock materials in that design phase. Can reduce your wastage, additional labour expense on the job site, less cutting, trimming, less materials thrown in the skip bin. This is going to save you time and money in labour expenses and in the reduced waste. On the job site during construction, the decisions made in the concept and design phase ultimately affect the cost of materials and labour on the site. Within JCE, we conduct constructability reviews of our designs with construction experienced team members like myself, having the eyes of an experienced hands-on construction trade go over the design while still in a draft format, can identify possible physical issues with installing certain elements of the design. Can also identify practical alternatives from both construction methods and the material choices. This type of review can save you time and money, adding value by trying to eliminate future material supply issues, site and labour expenses, and associated redesign costs. Just remember, anything past the final design issued for construction will generally incur a variation charge if there's going to be changes in your design that you come up with down the track because you've come across a problem. So spending the time in the initial stages to review those designs, we're still in the draft stage, can save you time and money down the track, not only on the site, but with the redesign costs and that may be associated. In domestic construction, it may be worth considering balancing choice of materials depending on the quality and the location. Those areas that have got visual high impact areas and tactile qualities are probably worth investing in a little better quality material which is and make your cost saving measures in the areas that are either out of sight or have a low impact on the aesthetics of the structure or the dwelling. Building a house, it could be domestic or commercial construction. Just an example of that. You may have a simple set of veranda posts. You've got several options for materials. You might look for a painted or powder coated steel post or column. They're sleek in finish, and these might be desirable where the view or the outlook is, it's the feature of that space. But alternatively, you might choose to use a chunky stained timber sort of veranda posts. They bring an earthy and a warm feel to the space. So you might decide that we can save some money on the post and go with, say, a steel option, or we spend a little bit more money to create that that aesthetic and that feel for that part of the area. And this can be transferred also into other areas of structure. It might be your benchtop choices, and floor coverings and those sort of things, potentially making your cost savings in the areas that are not visually impacting. Because at the end of the day, we all want to enjoy the space we're creating, whether it's for a client or for ourselves personally. So there's a balance of where you can make your cost savings. So that can be all tailored back or go back to the design phase. So it's well worth doing the reviews on your designs early on before you reach the job site. So that's pretty much what I had to cover, and I'm sure that Brendan will have a little bit more to add.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Aruj. So I'll just finish up, guys, by talking a little bit about stakeholder engagement. So obviously through the development process, there's several different stakeholders with several different motivations and several different assets and a diversity of assets that they've got to maintain and keep to a certain quality, which obviously the public demands from them. So stakeholder engagement, with our experience, is it's key to have positive early on communication, making sure that you're keeping up them abreast of your project as it develops. So making use of your council pre-lodgement meetings, taking notes in your pre-lodgement meetings, getting minutes out of those meetings, and making sure that through the process the development officers are adhering to what they've actually explained to you, or the advice that they've given to you in the pre-lodgement meetings. Any sort of communication that you have throughout any of the approval processes, whether it be council, whether it be utilities, whether it be state government, are all documents that you should be able to track and be able to hold them accountable back to those words that they've said. There is a collaborative process. You are required to collaborate with them to ensure that they're getting the best out of your development as well, and making sure that your development is not going to hinder any of their asset operations. It is key to keep them up to speed, as much as people don't like to. It is key to keep them up to speed with what's happening and regularly communicate. The past probably 2 years, I think we've seen a real extension of a lot of the approval timelines. The development approval processes for a lot of local governments in Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland have really been extended out. Make sure that you hold them accountable for those timelines. Their resourcing and ability to be able to service those applications is their problem, not yours. So make sure that you are holding them accountable to achieve those deadlines. And I think making sure that you are aware of every single stakeholder's motivations to be able to maintain their asset. You may not actually know where their system site extends to. Their system site may be further than just the underground asset, just the road, just the footpath, whatever it might be. So ensuring you have that early communication, it's effective, and you hold them accountable, will achieve results for your development.
Amazing. Wow.
Question
Look,
time.
I've written a lot of notes myself, guys, because Brendan's team here, he's got a few different specialists within the one firm, and not all companies operate this way. And I wanted to bring Brendan on because he's got that capability to have different specialists review your site at the one time. Different companies operate different ways, but I know, Brendan, you're in, just remind everybody, you're in Queensland, your head office.
Head office
and
is in
you can
Queensland.
operate in other states.
Yeah, we've got a small office in Eastern Victoria in Barnsdale and also in Ballarat. So we're down in Victoria. We've got a home office in Sydney, and we've also got a small office on the Sunshine Coast up here.
Beautiful. And if they're in other states, I'm sure you can refer them to other, or you guys can come back to us as well.
Yep.
I think a lot of takeaway from all your speakers is to get as much information as possible to the council at the beginning, with all your specialists reviewing as much as possible to get the most detailed hire design, so that you're efficient with getting the project underway. And I think that's really crucial. I think with our team, personally, we spend more time in the acquisition or finding the right site to doing the due diligence. And this is the due diligence period we're talking about. Before you even submit anything to the council, you will be speaking with the town planner. Like Blake said, I think that's my number one person I go to for the longest period of time to find out what does council want and what are the rules and how much can I push a boundary, how many units can I get on one block, how much can I subdivide. And before we go to the next person, we need to sort that out. As a developer, I have a goal in mind when I'm looking at a particular block of land and site of how many I want to get on there to be able to be profitable, to move forward. So if Blake, the town planner, comes to me and said, look, you can do 5 townhouses on this block, but I actually really wanted 6, that's where it stops. Because my real estate agent said I need to be able to get 6 at this price for me to be able to have a feasible project. And if he says no, the council's not going to let you, then hey, I'm going to let that site go and move on to the next one. So for us, we need a good ideal goal before we go and we see Blake, based on proven track record of what's done in the area. And if Blake says, yep, you should be able to get 5 and it's feasible, okay, who else do we need to talk to in this specialist team? Is it the civil engineers, the structural engineers, the traffic? Is it the acoustic? If you're depending on the site, the specifics, Blake or the town planner is the number one person to advise you on that. You wouldn't go to a traffic engineer first. You wouldn't go to acoustic engineer first. Town planner is your number one person to go to. Not even your architect, right? You guys do design or not?
Yeah, we do engineering design.
So no,
we take it
design.
from the architect and make it work is the way that we could probably best put it.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I go to town planner before I even go to the architect.
Yeah.
Right? Architects, there's plenty. You can find them specifically in your area where you want to be developing. And I think that's important. Use someone locally, they understand the design too. But town planner number one. And the other thing is you talk a lot about value engineering throughout this presentation. I love that word. And Brett, you mentioned that could mean different things, that value, word, different location, different product, different price range. But the biggest understanding for the specialist is understanding what sort of product you want to achieve, how much you ideally selling it for, so they can, I guess, make it a more efficient, economical build price for you and still get the outcome of the finishes and the luxury product that you need. And that's super important. And I know through experience that the structural and civil engineering are one of the highest costs in a project when we're building. And if we can find alternate design, alternate materials, that will help save the project costs immensely. I know that architects almost think differently. Some architects like to get very designery and not look at the costs. But as a developer, you're the number one person managing all your specialists and the cost involved. So having a team who can understand how to do value engineering, that is a big number one tick for, all of us to understand. Brendan, you mentioned timeline. I love that. We are the client to the council. We pay them application fee. We pay them council contribution. There's so much delays in a lot of council. Although Gold Coast isn't too bad. And we really need to be getting on top of our timeline. As a developer, we're not always the ones submitting the applications. So we need to be making sure our specialists are on time and following up with council as well. So following up with the town planner, the engineers, the firm that you're working with is critical. And it can be like an email that you send to that team every fortnight. If you're submit something to council and you just want to know where it's up to, the town planner should be able to give you a timeline of when the council should get back to you. Right? But if you don't follow up, you'll be at the bottom of the queue. So it is a lot like this in this game. You're a project manager, development consultant, you're constantly following up with your team and you want to be at the top of the queue as well. Is that right, Brendan?
Yeah, exactly right. And don't forget that they do have an obligation to be able to do this process. They've got to do it in a timely manner. There are legislative requirements around that. It's up to you to follow them up, or follow the specialists up, and the specialists follow them up. To make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck with your application. We've seen some applications in the last 2 years that have gone really just extended right out, and the price of materials have changed during that time. We had one in Agnes Waters where the flood overlay actually changed during the time of the development process. So one property that was previously not affected by flooding is now affected by flooding. So we had to meet with council and meet with them and go, guys, that you can't hold them accountable for this when you started the process here, and work our way through that to get a resolution. Thankfully, it was a positive one, but it was not a resolution from one side or the other. It was somewhere in the middle that worked for both parties. Make sure you hold them accountable, because they will try it on.
And if council is delayed, like you said, in that situation for a year or 2 years, can they compensate, or is it really just coming out with a compromise outcome for both parties?
I think that's probably best for Blake to answer, I reckon.
Yeah. So it's different state by state. So in most cases, you have what we call deemed approval, which is when council takes too long and they go over their time frame. You can write to them for a deemed approval and say, "Yep, this is you use your time frame. I want to get started. Here's the request to say this is to be deemed approved," and they have a certain amount of time frame to get back to you with conditions. They only really work for the smaller ones. The more advanced applications, they become what they call deemed refusals, and people end up going to the courts to get them decided. So during the COVID period in New South Wales, they had a massive delay in all the councils. It was a big issue in New South Wales, and a lot of developers just opted to go to court for the decision rather than waiting for council to make their own. And that was a quicker process than waiting around. So there's a few different methods that people get through the quickest. I don't advise that people go to court, but during that time where it was a crazy time during COVID, that was the correct method to get things approved in a timely manner.
Most efficient way. I love that. So it will be subject to where the location, the council is, and obviously looking at other projects and the approval times as well. So our students do projects all around Australia. You don't have to be in the same state where you are. We look at projects all around, and it's okay having the right team. That's the most important part, to understand that area, understand the council's rules, and you understand what the product needs to be in order to be able to sell it as a higher profit as well. Any questions, get in touch with our team. Look forward to speaking with you all again soon. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
See you later.
guys.